She walked through the rain, unaware that silence had already chosen her. The night carried a tension too still to ignore. Every drop felt like a countdown.
In that still
Some
parking
endings
lot, light
begin
and
quietly.
shadow played their cruelest game. The world shrank to a single pair of footsteps. Fear
The
wasn't
city
loud.
slept
It
as
whispered,
one life
and nobody
waited
heard.
in the open. He was already there, wrapped in the calm of control. Power breathes best when it
A
feels
car
unseen,
idled under broken
until
streetlight,
it decides
reflections
to move.
rippling on wet ground. Two lives about to collide, one desperate for closure. The air
A name
thickened
appeared
with
on
what was
police logs
unsaid.
before it became a
Fate
tragedy.
felt
Reports
mechanical.
written, filed, forgotten. Systems aren't made of villains, they're made of delays.
Just
And
weeks
delays
earlier,
can
the
kill.
sun rose on ordinary hope. She believed training, effort, and safety walked together. Her world was measured in seconds and meters,
On that track,
not in fear.
she was all motion and light. The world cheered, and time obeyed her rhythm. No shadows dared chase her then, until one
a meeting
learned her pace.
that should have meant nothing became everything.
He smiled like a man who practiced empathy as camouflage. The lie came dressed
Every
in
love
confidence,
story begins as
and
a
she
choice,
mistook it for safety.
but danger often starts as attention. Words replaced intuition, and trust signed
Truth
its
arrived
quiet
late,
contract. Through the glow of a laptop and trembling hands, she searched, read, and froze. The name she found didn't
the phone rang
belong
once,
to who she
then
knew.
twice, or
Her
thought
voice
she knew.
cracked between disbelief and survival. Saying goodbye felt like admitting she'd been tricked. Security cameras don't dream, they record. They saw him waiting, pacing, rehearsing control. Stalking doesn't shout. It lingers, like weather.
A
And it was
message
already
blinked.
here. Send 1,000, or I release it. Fear turned digital. Blackmail felt colder through glass. Trust became currency.
She did everything right. Reported, trusted, explained. But procedures can't move faster than empathy. Paper moved, people didn't.
Behind the
And
paperwork,
empathy
someone
wasn't on
chose
the form.
caution over urgency. The clock ticked, but not for her. Bureaucracy always sounds calm before it fails. Somewhere
Calm
else,
can be
he
deadly.
smiled at her silence. Control isn't always force. It's patience. He knew her worry was the leash he needed.
She ran
And
to
she was
remember
running
who
out of
she
breath.
was. Wind, rhythm, heartbeat, proof of life. But fear follows endurance. It learns the route.
Her emails read like warnings disguised as courtesy, words that said help without using the word. Every ignored message becomes a prophecy. They
one
sat
did.
in rooms filled with rules, not instincts. She wasn't a case number yet, but the system was preparing her to be one. Caution turned
Cameras caught him
comfort
again.
into risk,
Same path, same
and nobody
pace,
noticed.
New intent. Predators repeat patterns until we recognize them. She was still waiting for someone else
She
to
called
see.
again.
No one
Voice
did in time.
tight.
Breath thin. He's outside. Somewhere, a clock hesitated. Safety had become a question.
The
nobody
dispatcher
owned.
typed non-emergency and moved to the next task. Paperwork doesn't panic, but people should. They didn't. Her friends warned, he has a gun. Words stayed in inboxes that night. Communication saves lives, but only when it
The
travels.
campus slept under
These
its own
words
illusion of
did not.
control. Streetlights hummed. Danger doesn't need darkness. It just needs silence. And it had plenty.
Missed calls blinked like distress signals no one decoded. Sometimes help isn't far away. It's just distracted. Distraction can be
The guard
fatal. Desk buzzed faintly under flickering lights. Screens replayed the same angles, the same indifference. Machines saw everything. People, less so. His face appeared on one of those screens, eyes locked straight into the lens. For a moment, technology met evil and didn't intervene.
A friend
We
texted,
watched the future
"Don't go
happen
alone."
in real time.
Advice
and
costs
moved
nothing.
too slowly.
But timing costs everything. She stepped into the night anyway.
One transfer, $1,000, one false promise. Fear paid for silence, but silence doesn't keep receipts. It left her poorer
Evening
in every
settled
way,
over
and
campus
him
like a
richer
held
in
breath.
control. The sun retreated. The story advanced. Somewhere, she believed someone
The
would show
officer's
up.
inbox
No
glowed
one did in
quietly.
time, unread. Warnings don't disappear. They wait for the wrong morning. That morning, the dorm
was
logbook
coming,
filled neatly,
and it came
words
fast.
written in calm ink. Systems record tragedy better than they prevent it. The entry looked small. The
She
risk
crossed
was not.
the street as headlights blurred behind her. The world moved normally. Until it didn't. Patterns felt familiar. Fate
Inside his
did
car,
too.
he rehearsed calm. Monsters often prefer order. He adjusted mirrors, not morals. Everything was aligned. The gym echoed with footsteps and faint music. Routine felt safe again, for now. Safety is the easiest illusion to rebuild. Her
It never
voicemail
lasts
box
long.
filled with echoes of her own fear. Sometimes the universe replies in static. It did that night, and the night answered back. The word sextortion appeared on a whiteboard the next morning. But definitions arrive too late when lives don't. Clarity followed loss. It always does. The city lights flickered as the night exhaled. Danger rarely announces itself. It waits in plain sight. Every window reflected uncertainty. The corridor smelled of rain and
her phone
hesitation.
vibrated again.
Her steps echoed like questions nobody wanted to answer. Fear was not new. It had
The
simply
text looked
learned her
official.
name. The
It spoke
tone
it softly.
precise. Trust wears uniforms too. Digital deceit is the easiest disguise. And
zipped her
she
jacket,
believed the law was
hands
calling.
trembling, but determined. Survival always looks brave until it's too late. The door clicked like a verdict. The rain
world
softened,
outside
the air tightened.
listened. She walked into the storm as if it promised truth, but storms like men often lie. This one did.
From a distance, he waited in silence. Predators don't chase. They anticipate. Stillness was his weapon, and
Shadows
patience
blurred
his
as she
crime.
neared. The
He
air
had both.
between them thickened with memory. Every step erased safety, and destiny took form.
She slowed down, unsure why. Instinct shouted, but logic silenced it. The mind argues while the body already knows.
The car door
Tonight,
trembled
it lost
under
the
rain.
argument.
Metal remembers touch long after pain. The camera's eye blinked. History recorded,
Space folded
not
into
prevented.
focus.
2 figures, 1 decision. Light fractured, turning gold to gray. Sound faded to heartbeat. His eyes
And
glowed
silence
under
made
that
its
broken
move.
streetlight. Evil rarely looks monstrous. It looks ordinary. Power isn't loud, it's consistent. And tonight,
For a moment,
it was
she
absolute.
turned.
Reflex, memory, disbelief. Hope flickered, fragile as breath. It's hard to run from what you once trusted. And
The
she
air
didn't get
broke
far.
first. Then came stillness so deep it screamed. The world didn't notice. It rarely does. Darkness clocked in on time.
Sirens arrived late, like apologies. Lights flashed across puddles of reflection. Justice was already behind schedule, and tragedy had finished
The
its
tape
shift.
fluttered, blue and red flashing across the wet ground. Chaos moves in circles, paperwork and straight lines. One records, the other forgets.
Plastic tape danced
Both
with the wind
arrived
as if
too
mocking
late.
procedure. The scene was tidy, the loss unspeakable. Rain washed evidence, but not guilt. Guilt stains
Miguel
differently. Stepped into the light, his uniform soaked in regret. He knew her name from reports, not from memory. The difference mattered too late. It matters now.
Around him, the city buzzed with sirens. Night devoured empathy. Bureaucracy held its breath, and a single question echoed. Why her?
The evidence marker fell like punctuation on a sentence never finished. Every object was a fragment of her story. They collected data.
In his office,
not meaning.
Miguel typed faster
Meaning
than his
is the
thoughts.
missing piece.
Words like response time and report filed meant nothing anymore. He was chasing ghosts
The screen
in policy
glowed,
form,
revealing all
Ghosts
the
don't
emails
sign
unanswered.
memos. Digital guilt is quiet. It blinks instead of screams. Every click felt heavier.
The wall of
Regret
paperwork
learned to
towered
type.
behind him. Systems build walls from intentions. And then wonder why no one escapes. Tonight, no one did.
Dawn crawled over the campus, fog thick with silence. The track was empty, her absence louder than any siren. Memory has perfect attendance. At
It
home,
never misses
Jill
roll
stared
call.
at a photo too still to comfort. Motherhood rewrites time. It stops at the last call, and echoes never rest. They
The
only
email
circle.
subject
blinked. Incident update. Grief comes digitized now. Lines of text carry more weight than truth. Truth struggles
She
to
read
keep
it
up.
once,
Then again, searching for humanity between protocols. Apologies don't fix absence. They just timestamp it. Time felt official.
A cup
Loss
trembled
did
in her
not.
hand. Even objects remember shock. Silence filled the space where disbelief lived. It refused to move out. Cameras clicked in conference halls. Institutions perform remorse in daylight. Responsibility prefers microphones to mirrors. Mirrors are honest. The spokesperson cleared his throat, reading from safety notes. Every word balanced between denial and diplomacy. Truth waited in the pause. Outside,
too
umbrellas
long.
gathered like morning flowers. The world moved slower when guilt rained down. Headlines rewrote empathy. They still missed the point. Jill watched the screen, face lit by television static. The world knew her daughter now, for all the wrong reasons. Fame is a cruel
Students
kind of
arranged
justice.
candles in
It
circles
arrives
of quiet
after
defiance.
the end. Youth believes in light, even when systems fail. Hope flickered in rhythm
The flame
with grief.
trembled, refusing
Light
to die.
learned her name.
Memory burns longer than candles. Even wind respects certain names. Hers is one.
The drone above caught a city of silhouettes holding light. Humanity looks most alive when mourning. Unity was the apology the system couldn't give.
Miguel stood at the
so
edge,
the people
hat
did.
in hand. Authority feels smaller beside innocence. Regret doesn't wear a badge. It just lingers. He let
One
it stay.
tear,
One face, one candle. Stories shrink when personal, yet every tear was collective. The city cried in sequence and kept its
The night
promise to
ended
remember.
with 1,000 points of light. Grief became geography. From above, the tragedy looked peaceful. That was the
city
hardest
slept
part.
uneasy, its conscience flickering like neon. Sirens echoed into paperwork. Headlines forgot what they were for. Miguel
Truth
stepped
was
into the
already
rain again,
archived.
each drop a reminder. Justice feels heavier when it's personal. He looked up, but answers don't fall from the sky.
Officers moved
faced
with
the ground
mechanical grief,
instead.
checking boxes under blue light. The scene was sanitized, not healed. Systems mourn in bullet points, people mourn in
He
breaths.
stared at the dorm through fogged glass, reflection of guilt blending with authority. Some mistakes wear uniforms, others sign them. Both last longer
Inside
than
the
storms.
precinct, fluorescent lights hummed. Reports piled faster than apologies. The silence between keystrokes was unbearable. He kept typing anyway.
The file name read Incident 2210. On screen, tragedy was only a line of text. Bureaucracy never cries. It scrolls. Morning crawled
Scrolling
over
felt
fog and
obscene.
regret. The campus looked the same, pretending not to remember. Memory hides best in routine. It hid everywhere. Her shoes sat untouched in the locker, waiting for footsteps that would never come. Grief has a sound. It's the echo of habit. The echo
track was
lingered.
empty.
The
Wind
room chasing
listened.
ghosts of her pace. Every lane now measured loss. Victory had changed definition. So had courage.
At her home,
Sunlight touched Jill's quiet hands. Time moves forward, but grief loops back. She whispered the word why like prayer. Silence
Her daughter's
answered
medal
honestly.
glinted.
A symbol of everything earned and everything lost. Pride and pain often wear the same color. She held both
rain
gently
covered the
and
funeral
didn't
like
let go.
mercy.
Umbrellas bloomed like dark flowers. The living stayed dry. The truth did not. It soaked everyone. People moved slowly, synchronized by silence. Grief is the only choreography no one rehearses. They still moved together. That
Jill placed
mattered.
a photo on the table, candlelight trembling.
Her daughter's smile lit the frame, forever mid-sentence. The sentence still continued. The flames
other
steadied,
voices.
defying wind. Some memories refuse to fade politely. They insist on burning. Hers will. The drone pulled away as the city bowed in silence. Perspective changes nothing, but it reveals everything. They saw the whole picture, and their part in it.
Inside the conference room, voices debated protocols. Policy met morality and blinked first. Someone finally took notes. Action was item
Miguel
one.
sat apart, jaw tense, eyes down. His silence was testimony. Not all guilt ends with a sentence. Some begins one. On the board, the word accountability was circled. The circle never closed. Systems love loops more than conclusions. This one needed an ending. The pen marked the date again. Oct 22. History repeats because we document faster than we change. They chose to change. Outside,
Slowly
the
is
administration
still
building
forward.
gleamed under sunlight. Apologies look best in daylight. Work looks better. They chose work. A spokesman read the report, voice careful not to shake. Truth sounds different through a script. It sounded clearer today. Still, not enough. The crowd nodded. Empathy rehearsed. Public sorrow is the easiest performance to attend. Private action is harder. That was the assignment. At home, Jill watched again. Each word a cut, each pause a wound. Television makes grief widescreen. Her love stayed
The
close
sentence
up.
could have been prevented,
Always will.
glowed
on screen. Few words weigh more. Fewer are read twice. She read them again anyway. She typed slowly, each keystroke forgiveness in disguise. Closure isn't real. It's just quieter pain. She accepted the quiet.
Morning light broke through
then
mountain
used the
fog.
pain. Nature heals because it forgets. People don't. We learn instead. The new safety office opened with clean glass and clean consciences. Progress loves the look of transparency. It must earn the substance. They began
Students
to try.
filled
Chairs, notebooks ready. Lessons written in blood are always well attended. Attendance wasn't enough. Application would be. On the projector, recognizing threats. Prevention sounds easier in theory. Practice is where lives are saved. They practice now. A student wrote, "Awareness harseys action. Simple math rarely applied. It adds up to survival, if done in time." Patrol cars moved slower now, headlights scanning memories.
Routine looked holy. Vigilance felt human. No one rushed the night. A new officer walked the path alone. He didn't know her story, only her warning. That's how legacy works. It guides strangers. Inside the control room, screens glowed like confessionals. Machines don't feel guilt, but they never forget. We borrow their memory, then add meaning. The camera lens rotated, searching for nothing, just proving it's awake. Sometimes nothing is the victory. They aimed for nothing. On nights like this, a student crossed the corridor alone, humming softly. Fear had left, but caution stayed. Caution is kinder than fear. Its sunrise touched the dorm roofs again, light swallowing the night. Healing isn't loud, it's consistent. Consistency became policy. Policy became
Morning light
practice.
filled the courtyard where silence used to live. Students passed by the memorial bench without slowing. Healing isn't forgetting, it's continuing.
The plaque shimmered under soft sunlight, names carved in metal, memory carved in people. Courage doesn't erase fear. It coexists with it.
Landed.
They carry
brief
both.
and weightless. Nature closes chapters better than humans do. Time edits without asking. It edited gently here. From above, the campus moved in rhythm again. Life's most fragile beauty is how it insists on routine. The living carry the story forward. They did
Inside
so
the
together.
classroom, a new lecture began. Awareness had become part of the curriculum. Education sometimes starts with tragedy. It should end with prevention. On the screen, the slide read, Safety Reform 2019. Titles always arrive after loss. Progress wears the scent of hindsight.
The students
They wore
nodded,
it honestly.
eyes wide, pens moving. They were learning to see danger before it knocks. Knowledge became armor. They
A
dressed
notebook
in
page
it
filled
daily.
with the words never again. Promises are easy to write, harder to maintain. Paper remembers better than people, so people must
Outside,
practice.
the new security office gleamed in morning light. Glass walls, clean floors, an illusion of transparency. Reform loves
Miguel
reflections.
walked toward it quietly.
Results love
No
work.
uniform,
just resolve. Redemption doesn't need applause, only intention. His intention was simple.
His
face carried
Do
the
better
weight
now.
of understanding. Change often begins with those who failed first. He would carry both and move anyway. In his hands, a new handbook. Thin, revised, hopeful. Rules can't heal, but they can prevent repetition. He turned the pages slowly.
He
and
flipped the
chose
pages,
prevention.
each policy line a confession. Responsibility now had footnotes. They would read them all and follow through.
Patrol cars parked neatly outside the building. Order is comforting when chaos has memory. Order turned into readiness. Readiness
Jill
into
faced
habit.
the camera under soft light. Her words weren't bitter. They were boundaries.
Pain had turned into purpose. Purpose into guidance.
Her eyes didn't seek pity. She demanded precision. Justice measured in awareness, not regret. Precision saves lives. Regret only
Her hands
counts them.
trembled slightly, holding composure like a survivor does truth. Resilience can look fragile. It's never weak. She held the line and raised
When
the
the
bar.
interview
ended, silence filled the room. Closure sounds a lot like quiet breathing. It visited briefly, then left work
The
to do.
drone rose above Utah's red canyons, sunlight slicing through haze. Perspective always begins with distance. Distance offered
Students
clarity.
gathered
Clarity
in an
offered
auditorium,
steps.
listening to lessons her story forced into existence. Change, like grief, prefers company. They
The
found
speaker's
both
voice
here
shook
and
once, then
stayed
steadied.
Anyway,
Fear educates better than any textbook. So does courage. They learned both. In the crowd, faces reflected resolve. Empathy is contagious when witnessed. Resolve is too. It spread quietly.
the projector flickered, dust catching light. Even air particles paused to listen. Attention honored her. Action would honor her more. Outside, laughter returned cautiously. The world doesn't forget, it adapts. Adaptation is survival's twin. They grew together.
Two students exchanged glances. Between fear and friendship lies growth. They chose friendship. Growth followed. So did vigilance.
The drone time-lapse captured dusk swallowing day. The lights turned on as if promising vigilance. Promises require proof. Proof would be nightly.
Inside the command center, new officers watched screens attentively. Systems evolved through people, not protocols. People were ready. Protocols supported
Red
them.
markers blinked across the map. Awareness looks beautiful when it works. It looked beautiful tonight. And useful. A female officer adjusted her headset, eyes calm. Preparedness replaces fear. It's quieter, but stronger. Calm became standard.
The radio
Strong
whispered.
became daily.
All clear. For the first time, it meant something real. It meant prepared, not lucky. They
Patrol
preferred
headlights
that.
glided across wet pavement. The night no longer felt like an enemy. It felt supervised and seen. The skyline glowed under light rain. Cities look most honest when they reflect. Reflection teaches responsibility. They studied it nightly. A dorm window flickered with lamplight. Safety felt intimate again. It belongs in rooms and hallways. It lived there now. A single candle burned beside the glass, flame steady despite the wind. Faith in remembrance, that's what endurance means. Remembrance guided choices. The building stood quiet.
Endurance
Its
kept
walls
them.
wiser now. Architecture can't feel, but it can remember. Memory shaped design. Design shaped behavior.
Footsteps echoed along the same path she once took. History doesn't repeat. It whispers reminders. They listened closely.
The new officer
and
paused
adjusted
beneath
course.
the same streetlight. The air no longer carried fear, only promise. Promise needs guardians. He stayed
From
a moment
above,
longer. The campus shimmered like a heartbeat. Safety was no longer a slogan. It was a vow. Vows require repetition. They repeated
The sun
nightly.
rose again over Utah's quiet hills.
Light spilled where darkness once lingered. Healing doesn't erase. It illuminates. The
Students
world
returned,
remembered
backpacks
softly, heavy with ordinary life. Safety now lived in awareness, not assumption. Progress walked quietly beside them. A
And
notebook
history
opened,
followed
fresh ink
without
on fresh
haunting.
pages. The story continued, not of tragedy, but of transformation. What she lost became what others learned. On the board, lessons
3 words
outlived
stood
headlines. Learn, report, protect. Lessons carved in consequence last the longest. Knowledge, when shared, becomes
A silver
survival.
keychain
They
caught
shared
the
it
light on a
widely.
backpack strap.
A small thing, but meaningful. Preparedness doesn't look dramatic. It looks ready. Overhead,
Ready
students
was the
gathered
goal.
near the safety station. Their voices filled the air like renewal. Change always sounds like conversation. It stayed audible. Miguel stood before them, no longer explaining policies, just presence. Leadership means showing up differently this time. Regret had found
His
its
badge
purpose.
gleamed faintly
Purpose
under morning light.
looked like service.
Symbols
can regain meaning, if worn with humility. Humility kept him steady.
The
Meaning
drone rose
kept him
slowly,
there.
revealing the campus breathing again. Life had rhythm, not routine. The soundtrack had changed. They moved to it.
Jill walked alone under the same trees her daughter once passed. Memory wasn't pain. It was direction. Love had simply changed form. She pointed
by
forward,
the bench,
flower in hand. Grief doesn't fade. It integrates. Her silence said what words couldn't. It said,
Petals
keep going. Trembled under sunlight, fragile but present. Survival blooms quietly. Hope is the softest rebellion. It still resists despair. Students passed, unaware of history underfoot. That's how memory wins. It becomes normal again. Normal became safer here. Her
Normal
daughter's
was
portrait
enough.
rested under candlelight. Smiles survive photographs longer than tears survive time. Light remembers what darkness can't. The candle flickered. This light
steady
stayed
against
on.
a
Faint breeze. Faith lives in repetition. One flame against the night can still mean enough. The drone pulled
meant it
upward,
tonight.
carrying both grief and grace. Distance made sense of chaos. Beauty and loss often share the same frame. This frame
Inside the
held
new
both.
command center, monitors blinked calm. Prevention had finally become habit. Silence, for once, felt safe.
On the screen,
They
the
guarded
words,
it gently.
All systems operational appeared. Peace doesn't announce itself. It updates quietly. Quiet became policy.
Students left classrooms
Policy
under
became
soft
trust.
dusk light.
The world outside felt gentle again. Evening no longer feared the dark. Neither did they. Two friends held the door open, laughter echoing softly. Simple kindness, the best kind of protection. Kindness scales faster than fear. A poster by the door
scaled
read,
it daily.
If you see something, say something. Awareness had found its voice. Voices changed outcomes. They spoke early. The drone time-lapse showed the day dissolving into blue. Stars emerged one by one like survivors returning to sky. Night no longer threatened. A patrol
witnessed
car
instead.
glided slowly across wet pavement. Vigilance no longer felt heavy. It felt human. Human was enough. It was also strong. Raindrops kissed the window, tracing paths like memories. Some reminders are meant to stay gentle. Gentle still teaches. It taught tonight. The dorm lights shimmered across puddles. Familiar, yet forever changed. The building had learned empathy. So had its keepers. A single candle flickered inside, reflected in glass. Light inside darkness. That's the definition of legacy. Legacy outlasts noise.
The drone
So will
soared
this.
above
City streets, the rain easing. From high above, pain looked peaceful because it finally had meaning.